All right, thank you. So, Kenny, if you could invite the jury in, please. And Mr. Mcenroe, I'll invite you back up on to the stand if you would. Thank you.
Please rise for the jury.
And welcome back, folks. Please be seated. And Mr. Presky, whenever you're ready, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Joe. How you doing?
I think I'm a little bit better.
You got to speak into the microphone.
Right. So I think I'm a little bit better. Yeah.
Let's do this. All right. Here we go.
Okay. Let's try that. Can you all hear me now? Okay.
Before the break, I think.
Hang
I'm
on
sorry.
a second, Mr. Presky.
Can you all hear me now? Okay.
Can you hear okay, folks? And I was going to ask the same thing. Okay.
I'm guessing
Can you
probably
do me a
not.
favor and raise your hands if and when you can't hear, because it's really hard to tell whether people can hear in the particular space where they're seated. So let me know, okay?
Yeah, I'm.
Presky, go
Thank,
ahead, sir.
thank you.
Yeah. Sorry.
You're okay. Let's talk. Let's pick up where we left off. We're going to follow up on a few things that came up this morning, but I want to pick up right where we left off, which
Okay.
was where I think at this point you were still living in California, right?
Yeah.
You had, and one of the people you said was a friend of yours was David Cote.
Yes.
Tell us about David Cote. Who is he, and tell us
He
about
was,
your relationship.
He was he was the apartment manager's son. The context that he had come up in was that he had a father, and father, Fathel, father, dad.
Okay, I think she.
Oh, okay, I didn't know
Okay.
you were sorry. And that, because you were asking about father figures, and how, there was this guy, and there was Martin, and he wasn't really, he was kind of a father figure, but not really, because he was,
You're referring to Martin?
yes,
Okay.
who was already a father, because he was the father figure of my cousins. And then you had this guy over here who was kind of a father, who, had some fatherly aspects, but he was the father of my friend.
Okay, and David's father again? What did you say?
Was
it was
Andre.
Andre.
Okay. But as far as like actual people who were coming in and trying to take the role of being a father, we'd have these guys. They would roll in, show up for a month. Hey kid, I'm your new dad, and then just after a month or so, they just kind of go. After a month of just laying around, drinking and smoking. So it would eventually get to be like, yeah, the reason that we're not able to go off and bring home anybody worth a damn as a father is because of me. And
Well, hold on a second. Well, that seems like a bit of a non sequitur. Why do you say that?
because this is what I was told, My mom had always pointed out, it's like, look, the reason that she can't bring home anybody who was any good was because of me.
Well, did you ever say, what kind of sense does that make?
No, because it was always that because she had a kid and all this other stuff, it made it really difficult for her to go off and bring home guys, and to go off like meet guys or whatever. So
But she did meet guys.
yeah, but not ones that were down. So it's kind of became this thing where, here's the thing, is that occasionally she would go off and meet guys who actually were decent, right? Like there was this guy, Frank, that was Ian's dad, Ken. These were guys who
Hold on. There was this guy, Frank, did you say?
yeah.
That was...
No, there was this guy, Frank,
Okay.
and there was this other guy, Ian's dad, Ken.
Ken.
Yeah.
Okay.
These were both really, as far as I know, pretty good guys. I mean, these...
Now, hold on. I don't think
Okay.
you mentioned Frank this morning. Would you just give us a little bit of background?
No, I didn't. He was actually somebody that Mom had seen while we were in the pink stucco apartments.
In the pink...
Pink stucco
Okay.
apartments.
What was Frank
And,
like?
This was somebody who was actually a really good guy. This was somebody who actually had his stuff together. He had his own place. He had a steady, well-paying job. He had his own vehicle. I mean, you really could do a lot worse than this guy. And, we visited his place and we watched Star Wars, and I'm like, wow, this guy is really cool. He's telling me that, oh yeah, the Jabba's talking in Japanese or something.
You're
And-
talking about the figure in Star Wars, Jabba the Hutt,
Yeah,
that speaks what is
Yeah.
actually Japanese?
that's what he said anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, this guy is great. He didn't last long at all.
Why not? Why didn't that work out?
I don't know. Mom just, I don't know.
Okay.
Then there was Ken. He was somebody else who had a straight job. He was a good guy. We visited his home, and he seemed like a really good, he had his own place. He had all this stuff going on, and it's just like, okay, now it's on him again.
Okay. So now...
But it was the guys who would be just complete leeches who would just kind of like sit around, smoke, and then eventually go off and like find some gal who was like half their age and then run off with that, and that's who Mom would be, who would take home and marry.
Well, so just we're going to get back to David Cote, I promise. But
Okay.
these guys come in and they drink and smoke and lay around, but your mom doesn't do any of that stuff? She doesn't drink or
She
smoke?
doesn't drink, she doesn't smoke. She has some work ethic. She's just not very good at it. I mean, for example, when I'd actually managed to get back in touch with her after a couple of years of no contact.
Hold on. Give us some time frame here, Joe.
I was about to. When I was with Michelle in Kent Terrace, when I had first moved out here about 2004. And at that point, she had two jobs. She was working at 7-Eleven and managing a Taco Bell. We aim high. And she's like, look, we're kind of strapped for cash. We're having problems, and if you send me some money, I'll totally, I wouldn't ask otherwise, but we really need it right now, and I'll totally pay you back. And it's just like, okay. Michelle fought me over, and I'm like, because she says, these guys aren't going to pay you back. You know how she is. She's like that. I'm like, no, she's actually trying now. And so over her objections, I sent the money, and then Mom flaked again.
And then,
Mom flaked again. And which gave Michelle the excuse to say, look, your family is a bunch of trash, and I don't want to have anything to do with them at all anymore. I don't want to hear from them. I don't want to, if they don't write back, any of that. So, it's, the first thing that she did once she got money from me is to go and like quit one of her jobs. I'm like, so, that was one of the things where I'm just kind of like,
Okay, so hold on now. We're
Well,
talking...
the point of that was to kind of establish that she can, if she really feels that she has to. Usually, if she's got a fallback, she kind of gets lazy.
Okay, so let me jump in with a question here, Joe. We were talking about father figures, and you had your buddy, David Cote.
Yeah.
You're about how old at this point?
I don't really know. I think from about 11 to 16.
Okay, so you knew this guy for a few years, right?
Yes.
He's from a more stable family situation than yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what was your relationship like with him? What did you do together? What did you talk about? I mean, you must have talked about something more than fathers.
Yeah, we really talked about that. No, it's just, I don't know, we talked about pretty much whatever. I mean, young...
Did you play any games with him?
Yeah, we had various... He would go, because he had a lot more money than I did, obviously. So he'd have video games and computer and stuff, and mostly I would just sit around and watch him play games and then help him do his chores stuff.
Well, did you ever play D&D with him or anything like that?
We played, that's what I meant by other games. We, I don't think we ever actually played D&D or anything, but we played other role-playing games like that. Yeah. You actually, a lot of times, what we would do is we would play those games, and then I would just kind of work off of kind of ad-libbing, where he would play the, like he would take the role of a character and just say, okay, what he's doing, and I would come up with what this guy is, what the world around him is going on, and what this person is going through, If anybody's ever played D&D or any other role-playing game, which I'm guessing you probably haven't, but there's what each of the players controls a particular character going through their little thing, right? This is very much like what I was talking about with the writing group. How one person writing group, where you have one person who sets up the storyline and comes up with what the background is and whatnot, and where it's going to be going and everything, and then you have the other people join in and go have their only controlling their specific character, whereas the other person is controlling basically everybody else.
So you played this with David sometimes?
Yeah, he really liked it.
Games like that?
Yeah.
Did you like it too?
Yeah.
Did you play it with anybody else growing up? How about your brother, Chris?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. Not often. He didn't really get into it too much.
Okay, all right, so, and did you maintain contact with David Cote after that period in your life?
No, most of the time when I would move away, I would just lose all contact with the people that I knew.
Okay, and so you'd said earlier from California you moved up here to Puget Sound area?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, it's all right.
Yeah.
And did you keep in touch with David after that?
Let's see, when I came up here from California, in fact, yeah, that was when we, I think what it is that, how did that work out? Because I remember actually having to go pay for Kathy paid for the truck, for the U-Haul, right?
Kathy Cote paid for the U-Haul?
The U-Haul, yeah. So, no, I don't really remember having any more contact with David after that.
Okay. Let me, the other thing you mentioned this morning, we talked a little bit about your relationship with your brother Chris, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes good, sometimes bad?
Sometimes good, sometimes bad, yeah.
Okay, you had some complaints about his keeping up with things around the house?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair to say.
So, you mentioned this this incident with the trailer in Arizona where there were some other kids, I guess, calling you names and saying things about you, right?
More of bashing on the windows and doors and rocking the trailer and threatening to kill me, yeah.
So, was that the only time that something like that ever happened to you involving Chris?
Actually, no, that kind of stuff would happen more than... No, it's kind of stuff would actually happen every so often, where he'd get... Like I said, it would be basically all of the chores would fall. Mom would have this view of, okay, I was expected to, because I was the oldest one, make sure that everything was taken care of. But if I was to go and complain if I was to go off and yell at at basically Chris, then he would go and complain to Mom, or she would go off and yell at me directly for doing so. So eventually I got to a point where I just got frustrated with that, and there was a couple times where I actually got frustrated and got physically violent with him. The first time he went to Mom, she got upset at me, as you've already heard. The second time he went to Aunt Mary, she came down on me. And the third time he had the cops called in on me. And
let me jump in. Let's talk about the cops.
Okay.
About how old were you, Joe?
I was only about 13, 14.
Okay.
What had happened in this particular instance is I had picked Chris up, flipped him over, and dropped him on his head.
Okay, he was probably a bit smaller than you at that time?
Yeah. I wasn't particularly big either, but yeah.
Did you get arrested?
No.
What happened?
No, they came in and told me that it doesn't matter why you're upset at him. It doesn't matter what your excuse is, that violence is not okay and will be, followed up on. And it's like, okay, well. And so since then, I just stopped, okay? Because it became obvious at that point. And it's like, there's mom, and it's just, mom gets upset, right? And Mary gets upset, it's a little bit more, but then you have Cockroach, it's like, okay, right, I'm done, screw this. I'm just going to go take it on the jaw and just leave it.
You're just going to go do what?
I'm just going to take it on the jaw and leave it. So he can go off and do whatever he feels like, he can go and just get away with whatever he feels like, and I'll just have to take it, whatever. Because there was no recourse, because complaining just goes off and gets me ignored, and then I have to deal with it anyway. And fighting just goes off and gets me in trouble, and then I have to deal with it anyway. So what's the point of going and making any kind of a fuss?
When did you start thinking like that, Joe?
When did I start thinking like that?
Approximately what age?
About 11. I'd say it was kind of solidified at about 13, 14.
Okay.
By that particular event I just told you.
Okay.
So,
did you ever get treated or talk to a counselor or a psychologist or psychiatrist when you were young like that? CPS referred to something like that.
I saw a counselor once, twice, maybe 3 times.
And did you
He
report
was...
this? Hold on. You gotta wait for the question.
Okay.
Did you report that this kind of thing was going on, or that you were having these feelings?
I'd like to note, by the way, that what I was going to say is that this particular counselor was at my school, right?
Okay.
And, no, as
And no what?
no, in answer to your question, no, I did not tell him, my feelings or anything like that.
Why not?
As I don't like to I'd rather than getting upset at things or making people look bad or feel bad about whatever, I usually just kind of internalize it and ignore it. And then later on, when it comes up in situations where it might be important to notice or mention it, I have a hard time remembering it. And I don't, like Dr. Bennett said, I have a hard time opening up in general. I have a hard time in talking about things and specifically my problems. I mean, the only other person I had talked to about the past and what I've gone through is Michelle. And she used that against me. So
let me ask you a little bit more. I want to move us on from California and get us up here to the Puget Sound. A couple more quick follow-ups. Any further effect on your life that the ITP, the blood disorder, had?
the thing about the ITP is that it's something that could, like I was trying to say earlier, is that it's something that could resurface at any time. So I had resurface at any time. So it was something that I had to go and be careful with, that this could go, and any major trauma, any going and any major illness, any major intoxication, I smoked for a little while, but not much. I never really drank. I never really used much in the way of drugs except for marijuana. And just, so that was that. And then, of course, the more important one was that for most of my life I had to go and feel there was the constant fact that I should have died then. And that I had come really close to dying, and that, 1, 2 years old, well, I'm ready, like, apparently some part of my body's already like, okay, I should die. So
hold on. Let's run over that again because I'm not sure I caught it all. You felt like maybe you should have died?
that I should have died at that point, and so I was only
Hold on.
alive
At what point, Joe?
when the ITP hit me.
When you were 1 or 2 years old?
Yeah. And so the fact that I was alive was basically an accident. And so I really had to go and justify the fact that I was still alive by being useful, which sometimes I was more than others.
Sounds like you were pretty useful around the house growing up.
I tried to be.
Did you ever talk to your mom about death or about these feelings? Hey, I'm feeling like maybe I shouldn't have survived that. Any kind of conversations with your mom about death or anything?
Let me tell you something. When I was about 6 to 8 years old, I was about the first time I tried to commit suicide, okay?
Oh, hold on. It was the first time you what?
Tried to commit suicide. I went and wrapped I was actually in a full room, and I went over and wrapped the cotton cord around my neck.
Hold on. You wrapped a what?
Cotton cord around my neck.
Okay.
And try to asphyxiate myself. Now, I found out since then that doesn't actually work.
You've found out since then?
That doesn't actually work. When you
Okay.
pass out, you let go.
So, hold on. Where was this?
This was in the living room.
Of whose house?
This was in the living room that we were living in with Aunt Mary, Martin, and everybody else.
So,
And
at
everybody-
Homestead or one of those places?
Yeah, Homestead, and everybody was right there. Now, where I'm getting at with this is that
Wait a second. I'll let you tell us what you're getting at. Everybody was right there,
Yeah,
and you're like wrapping this curtain cord around your neck, and nobody's saying, "Hey, stop that."
what I'm getting at is that if any of them are end up like watching this or hearing this,
Would you say it again?
if any of them end up watching this or hearing this is the most they would know about it, as far as I know.
Who, Martin or Mary or your mom?
Or anybody, yeah.
Why wouldn't they know about it? Weren't they in the same room?
Yeah,
Well, why wouldn't, tell us.
because I was just, I don't know, I wasn't in front of them, I was off to the side. I was actually very, feeling really just upset with myself, angry with myself, just really nobody gives a damn, and so I went out to prove it.
So you what?
So I went out to prove it, and guess what? I was right.
You went out to prove it, and you were right because they didn't notice? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Joe, didn't you have marks around your neck? Did you pass out? Like, what happened?
Actually, I talked to my grandmother who was dead at that time.
Your grandmother was dead at that time?
Who was dead at that time.
What do you
So,
mean you talked to her?
She told me to.
She was dead or she was there?
Dead. Both, actually. So,
Hey, Joe, I'm sorry, you got to keep your voice up.
I know, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, this is really awkward for me. I don't really like putting myself out there. I'm a very introverted person.
Okay. Well,
Introverted. I don't like talking about myself.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to ask you a whole bunch more questions about
That's fine.
yourself.
A quick note, though, is, Dr. Dunn actually was right to not...
I don't understand that.
Dr. Dutton actually was right to not use a tape recorder, because I would have been a lot less ready to talk to him if he had that going.
Okay, well,
Right.
putting that aside, I'm sure it will come up.
Yeah, so well.
Okay, so you tried to kill yourself when you were 6 or 8 years old, right?
Yeah.
You had some conversation with your grandmother who was already dead at that point?
Yeah. Yeah.
But did you ever talk to your mom about death, or did your mom ever say anything to you about death? Sort of, how were you aware? 6 to 8 years old, I guess there is an awareness of death, but did you have any? Had you ever talked to anybody about it or anything like that?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. Dr. Dutton mentioned something about your view of mirrors.
Yes.
Tell us about your view of mirrors.
They're not... I don't know, they're not quite... Not quite right, I guess. Like, there's just... A lot of these things are really hard to explain. It's just
Joe, you gotta speak
yeah.
a little louder
Yeah.
and into the mic.
Yeah.
Try again.
A lot of these things are hard to explain. It's just that they're not right. A couple of times I've seen things where it's like they don't really align with what's the reality that I'm in. Just don't. They're off.
Okay, so if you look in a mirror, you can see yourself.
Yeah, it's just it probably made me seem really vain when I was out in the real world because I would look.
Hold on, they probably what?
Made me seem vain when I was in the real world because I would look at mirrors all the time to make sure that they weren't doing whatever. Which
Did you ever talk to your mom about mirrors? Does she have any similar views?
no, not that I don't know. I never talked to her about it.
Okay. When you say you talked to your grandmother when you were trying to kill yourself as a child, what did she say to you? Do you remember?
She said that I should stop that, and that not like stop that, just more of this isn't, you don't need to do that. It's not helping. So I figured she was right, and I stopped.
Okay. And other than that, I just want to get a little bit more of a sense of the household, how the household worked. You had to do some cleaning and chores around the house. It sounds like, right?
Most of it was on me. Yeah.
Okay.
If it didn't get done, then it would end up on me.
Well, what about grocery shopping? Is your mom doing that?
She would go and shop for groceries at the beginning of the month when we got food stamps, and then throughout the rest of the month would be on me.
She would go at the beginning of the month when you got the food stamps, and then the rest of the month on you?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be paying for the groceries. I would be taking the food stamps down to pay for them and bringing them back.
Okay.
So,
I mean, was that a consistent pattern? You had to do some of the grocery shopping?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, what about cooking? Who would do the cooking?
It would vary. It would be either me or Chris or Mom.
Okay. So
Chris
that was shared
usually-
around?
Yeah.
Okay. What about clothes? Where'd you get clothes? Did you have enough clothes to wear?
Not most of the time, actually.
Well, where would you get clothes?
We would, usually we would get, every couple of years we go to Goodwill and get some stuff. Not all that often, but sometimes we get, hand-me-downs from other people,
Okay, but you had a shirt on your back, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What about your grandpa?
Usually had a shirt on my back, but I had a hard time finding underwear and socks.
You'd have a hard time finding underwear and socks?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me ask you. I mean, what about your grandpa? Was he retired by the time you were a teenager?
As far as I know.
Okay. Did he ever say, "Hey, let's get you a pair of shoes here, or
No.
shirts, anything like that"?
No, not that I know of.
Okay. I wanted to ask you another question about you. When CPS came in, they said that that the pain was all in your head. You said you were having all these aches and pains.
Yeah.
Do you have any sense, was that real pain, or where was the pain coming from?
I still get that sometimes. I actually, my own belief is that it's kind of holdover from last time I died.
Hold on. I think we better go a little slower through that. Is your own belief is that it's kind of a holdover from what?
The last time I died.
Okay. Explain that, please.
Well, I mean, people die, and sometimes people die and reborn, die and reborn.
People what?
Die and reborn, die and reborn.
That's your belief?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so the after sometimes they if they die particularly badly, that kind of carries over. So
you thought the joint pain was what?
from that,
Somehow related to that?
yeah, I mean, I just had a memory. I had a memory of that, and I woke up with that, and it just stayed with me since for like the next decade or so, decade and a half.
Well, I guess I've got to ask to follow up on that. I mean, do you have some sense that Nathan and Olivia are going to get reborn or something?
Yeah.
You do? So what, it was okay to
Yeah.
kill them?
No. Look, just because at the time I believed that they were in this suffering, horrible life, and
And you didn't mention that to Detective Pavlovich?
because since then I've realized that that's probably not true. Between the time and when everything happened and the time when I talked to Detective Pavlovich, I came to the realization that that's probably not true.
When you say everything happened, between the time when you killed them?
When I killed them and the time, yeah. So, yeah. So I thought that they won't have this suffering, terrible life, and even if they weren't doing badly already, they'd probably be doing pretty badly after going through that. So the only decent thing to do would be to save them from what would be a fate worse than death, and so allow them a chance to cycle through and have a new life.
Cycle through.
Yeah. And no, that doesn't make it any better if you're really looking at it, because it still leaves this huge hole in everybody else's life. It still leaves this awful damage in everybody else's life. I mean, these aren't people who didn't have friends. These aren't people who were like hermits who just lived as islands.
Would it be okay to kill them if they were?
No, it would not. What I'm getting at, though, is that there was this impact, and as we saw yesterday, not yesterday, but the day before, I mean, that was my version of hell, okay? Knowing that I have went and done this horrible, awful stuff, and made this huge, terrible impact in these people's lives. And for what? Because I thought I had to? Was I really that stupid? Yeah, I was, actually. Sitting here listening to my thing, I'm like, was I really this callow, this foolish, to fall for these things, this willfully ignorant, to believe her? Yeah. So.
Joe, I put a cup of water next to you up there if you need
Oh,
it.
hey,
I
thanks.
didn't do it just now. I did it before we started.
I don't know if any trick you had.
Okay. We're going to talk more about that. I want to continue going through the chronology of your life, so make sure we get all this information.
Okay.
Did your mom ever date Martin, Aunt Mary's boyfriend?
Not that I know of. Well, not that I knew of. At this point, I think so, but that's only from stuff that I found out since.
Okay. What caused you guys to move to Seattle? Why'd you do that?
I think it was the fact that she was getting kicked out of yet another place. And, I'd like to take a moment here to point out that,
Keep your voice up.
sorry, I'd like to take a moment here to point out that this constantly getting kicked out of places and having things shut off, that really bothered me, I mean, nobody wants to be that person who's just like this low-life, just couch surfer, I guess, would be the way of putting it.
Just what?
Couch surfer would be the way of putting it. And, it was very obvious from early on that I and we were viewed as being parasitic because of that. And so when I was able to go off and move beyond that and, keep us from having, when we were in Arizona the second time, I was paying for everything, but we haven't gotten to that point yet. So,
But you were viewed as parasitic?
yeah, that was my view of our financial situation in general as well. So,
Okay. So what made you guys move to Seattle? You thought you might be getting kicked
Right.
out, but why Seattle?
forgot about that. Sorry. Well, we would go on just little whims. she'd happened to see Sleepless in Seattle and recognize the Space Needle from a dream that she'd had. Mom, I mean. And so she'd found some place up here that rent was cheap at, and so we went up here.
Who'd you come up here with? How'd you get up here?
At this point, she had some guy who she was living with. No, she had some guy who was living with us. Sorry. It's Marty and
Marty?
Yeah.
Now, hold on. Is this the same as Martin, Aunt Mary's
No.
boyfriend?
No.
Different Marty.
Yeah.
Okay.
My guy. So, yeah, we had Marty and and I think Tony as well, who was another one. He was Marty's friend,
Not Mom's boyfriend.
right.
Okay.
So we all moved up here like that.
Did Brian, whose last name we don't know, but who went to Sahuarita, Arizona, did he ever resurface?
He did resurface later on.
Where were you when he resurfaced?
I think we were actually back up here. Yeah, we were actually up here when that happened.
Okay. Did he live with you
I think we were with.
Back here? Back up here.
in the Seattle area?
Yes.
Okay. Did he live with you too?
For a little while.
Okay.
And then he went off to better pastures, I guess.
Okay. So you came up here with Marty and Tony
I
after
think so.
sometime around Sleepless in Seattle.
I'd say about a year after that, yeah.
Okay. So how old were you when you got up here? Do you know?
19.
Sorry.
19.
19.
Yeah.
Well, then let me ask you. So this issue came up about your schooling. How far did you go in school, Joe?
I dropped out at the beginning of sophomore year.
And what town were you in at that time?
I was in Santa Clara at the time.
And tell us the story, please. Why did you drop out of school? I mean, you seem like a pretty bright guy.
Well, there's a couple of reasons. One is that I simply wasn't doing well in school.
Why not?
Well, partially because I didn't have any books. That got in the way.
Hold on.
Hmm?
How could you not? Was this a private school or something?
Well, no. Actually, I had gotten sick in class at one point.
You got
and-
sick in class?
Yeah. And I had said that I needed to go to the nurse, and so the teacher was just like, okay, just leave your stuff and go, right? So I just left. When I came back, he let somebody else take my stuff. So because I wasn't able to replace the books, we weren't able to get new books.
Wasn't there any inquiry? I mean, that sounds like one of these misunderstandings that happen all the time in high schools around the country, if not around the world. I mean, isn't there some way to kind of say, wait a minute, follow up with the teacher, who took the books, et cetera, et cetera? Was any of that done?
No.
Did you... so was that the cause of your dropping out, or was there something else?
That was part of it.
What was the whole
That
story?
was part of it.
Tell us the whole story, please.
The rest of it was that Mom was actually, at this time, she was doing really, her health was really, really bad.
What was wrong with her health?
Well, it turned out that she had a really malignant case of uterine fibroids,
Okay.
and that they eventually had to give her a massive hysterectomy to correct that. Unfortunately, they didn't realize that they had to do that for several years. That didn't end up happening until years down the line, so she was basically hemorrhaging every month. It's great. Yeah.
So, getting back to the high school.
She was, tired and exhausted all the time, and somebody needed to go off and watch the kids, and I just, I didn't feel like I was one of those, so it's just like, why even bother?
Where was that?
At the schools. I mean, the teachers looked at me like I was trash, and the students treated me like I was trash, and for crap's sake, I was trash. So I just, I didn't like going, and eventually, when there was an excuse, I just left.
Were you getting in fights there or something?
No. No, I don't fight. I'm not a combative individual, no. No, just, they would, I can't even think about how to go off and make it clear now. It's just, you don't meddle, screw off. Just another one. I mean,
So
it might
you-
not be obvious from how Joel and Columbus all seems, but it's just throughout everything has always been, you don't meddle, screw off, you don't meddle, screw off, you don't meddle, we don't want you, go away.
Is that how you felt?
That's almost always pretty much been. Eventually I managed to go off and pick myself up and do a better job of things, and then I met Michelle. Things went really downhill.
But her family didn't treat you like that, did they?
Her family was great. Look, the only person in that entire family who was ever mean to me, who was ever cruel to me, who ever betrayed me or just treated me like crap was Michelle, the one I kept alive. But, no, I like these people. They were good people. I mean, when I called them mom and dad, I wasn't being ironic. I really did accept them as my mom and dad because I'm just like, by that point I had stopped having anything to do with my family because it had just become too much of a strain, because by that point I actually literally was carrying everything. I'm like, look, Mom, I can't do this anymore. It's just too much, okay? And so I left. And eventually I ended up meeting Michelle, and that worked out really well too. But, her family was fantastic.
Okay. We're getting there. Tell us about Seattle. What did you do when you were up here? You were 19 when you came up here?
Yeah, eventually
Hold on. Where was your first job, Joe? Your first, sounds like you did odd jobs around. I'm not asking about odd jobs. I'm asking about your first more formal employment.
I got a job at the Burien Burger King, actually.
The Burien Burger King?
Yeah.
Did you do a telemarketing job for a short time?
I did that afterwards.
Afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay, well then let's start with Burger King. Burien
Okay.
Burger King?
So, but that was a really good job, actually. No, not really.
Hold on, I missed some of that. That was a really good job,
see.
actually.
Actually, no, not really.
Okay.
It was a really huge strain.
It was a really what?
It was a really huge strain. But when I was walking, I was great. I actually really worked really hard and really put myself into it. So people were actually sad to see me go. But
People were actually what?
sad to see me go.
Sad
Mom-
to see you go?
Yeah, Mom and I both worked at that particular place. She had started off at. Mom and I had both worked at that particular place. She had started as a manager, and I had started at just a pro. When she quit, they're just like, okay, bye. When I had quit, they were offering me a promotion and whatnot if I would stay. But after a year and a half of that, I was just, my hands had started shaking by that point, and I'm just like twitching all the time, and just it's just too much of a strain. So I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
So, where did you work after Burger King?
So that's when the telemarketing came in.
Tell us about the telemarketing.
Can you imagine somebody with my voice and my introverted personality being a telemarketer, calling people up? Hi, would you like to buy a portrait? And it's just great because it,
So you were trying to sell them a portrait, like photography?
Yeah, except they kept thinking I was trying to sell them poultry.
Poultry?
Yeah,
Like chicken?
yeah, because portrait and
Got it.
yeah, we just have to luck into this.
So that job didn't work out, did it?
That job was terrible.
How long were you at that?
One day.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what was your next job?
My next job, I got lucky and got hired on a Safeway, which was a
Okay.
really good job.
And where was that, please?
That was also in Burien.
In Burien?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did
So-
you do at Safeway?
I started off as a card attendant, and I started off as a card attendant, and I made my way up to helper clerk, which is stocking shelves, and I had also taken on cleaning the bakery and the meat area, And then I'd actually went and transferred from that over to doing the produce section. I was actually doing really well there. It was a really good job.
Okay.
Then Mom got kicked out again. Yeah, part of it was that she was getting kicked out. The other part was that she was having problems with the boyfriend, so she decided to take somebody up on the offer of, she was screwing around online, and some guy's like, well, hey, if you need a place to stay, you could always come crash with me. So we did.
And where did he live?
Down in Arizona. We went down
Okay,
to...
but hold on. But at this point, you're what, 20 years old? Right?
Hmm?
I mean, free to go, right? Why not just say, hey, Mom, you know what? I got a job at Safeway. I'm good. I'm going to stand pat.
That's basically like the big false big mistake I made in my life.
That's what?
The false big mistake I made in my life
Okay.
is leaving.
All right.
But, you know, I mean, she's like, look, I need you to go off and help me with the kids. I need you to help me with the kids. I can't do this on my own. It's like, okay, then I'm with you. Okay?
Okay. So
So,
I'll ask you about the move down to Arizona
Okay.
and how we're going to go through and how you met Michelle and everything else. Let's take things one step at a time. Tell us a little
Okay.
bit more about Seattle. You live in, who was in your life at that time, or who was in your mom's life? Who did you live with? What was life like here in this area? That's several questions at once, so just try to take them one at a
yeah.
time. Could it have
Okay.
been South Park?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, so we moved over to Peoria, and sometime around there, she had met Mike Bates.
This is your mom?
Actually, before that, she'd actually met some guy that she was with at work, but he didn't last very long. But yeah, my mom met Mike Bates, so brought him home. Just some guy that she picked up at work.
And how long did he live with you?
About a year or two.
A year or two?
Yeah.
Now, and so at this point, this is Mike Bates and your mom, and
Yeah.
you and Chris and Ian and Sarah?
Yeah.
And so this is, you said you were 19?
19, yeah.
Okay, so we're roughly 1997 by this point?
I think so, yeah.
So Ian and Sarah are 7, 8 years old, more or less?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did Chris stay in school, your brother?
I don't believe so, actually.
Okay.
At this point, he was still in school, I believe, but...
And were the younger kids going to school?
Oh, yes, yes.
And did you have any close friends in the area, or any friends?
Well, I mean, those people that I worked with.
Excuse me?
Those people that I worked with.
Okay.
Eventually, I had one of the gals that I was working with, Shauna, I went on a couple of dates with her.
Okay, this is Shoshana?
Yeah. And she ended up having a problem where she had got kicked out. I'm like, well, then you can go and, like, stay at my place. You can have my bed if you want, you know? That sounds like a really bad comment, but it's not.
So were you sleeping in the bed with her?
No,
No. Okay.
no. So she ended up bringing a friend along who was also female. It's like, okay, you guys basically just end up giving them control of the bedroom.
So you gave him your bedroom?
Pretty much, yeah.
Where were you sleeping?
Well, I had a different bed.
In the same room?
Yeah.
And how long did that go on?
I don't know. About 6 months, I guess.
So was Shoshana your girlfriend?
I thought so. She didn't think so, but I thought so.
Seems like that's something that kind of requires a meeting of the minds, don't you think?
One would think. Apparently so. Because, like I said, I thought so, but she didn't think so, so apparently not.
Well, did you have this conversation with her at the time? Like, what's the
Well,
status of our relationship?
No, I mean, we'd gone out a couple of times, and so because we were getting along so well, I'm like, okay, well, if you got kicked out, then you can go and live with me. And I thought that from that, you know, because one of the reasons I was doing that was because she was getting kicked out, right? And no, one of the reasons I was doing that was because we all had a little kind of a thing going. And it turns out apparently that's when it kind of ended. Yeah. So,
Okay.
did we ever actually discuss that? No.
Okay.
Until the point where she just like decided to like just leave one day. It's like, Okay, great, thanks.
So
You
she
know.
wasn't still around when you went to Arizona, correct?
No, but between then and later, I ended up being between then and Arizona, I was really suicidal for a while.
You were suicidal?
Yeah.
So tell us about that. Like, what were your thoughts? What were you doing? Were you still working?
No, actually, I quit.
You quit where?
I quit working by that time, and yeah, I quit working, and eventually I had gotten over the suicidalness, and I got a new job at Safeway. Got a new job at Safeway, and everything was going okay again. And then we moved on to Arizona.
So, was Mom with Mike Bates the whole time there?
Not the whole time, but a lot of it, yeah.
Okay.
So we'd actually started getting, it's great because we'd actually like gotten our stuff together. Chris was finally going to school again, and he was actually paying attention to school, and he was doing well. The kids were doing well in school. I was at my job, and I was doing well, and, you know, things were working out really well all around. And then just, you know, okay, I approved everything, let's just go. So,
But you were working at Safeway, right?
yeah,
And you were in the produce department, did you say, by this
at
time?
that point, yeah.
Is that a union job?
Oh, yeah, it was great.
So, you know, people raise up a family doing that.
Yeah.
So,
No,
I mean, was there ever a conversation with Mom like, hey, what kind of sense does this make? I got a good job. Why don't we stay here?
I don't recall, actually. I don't.
But you were making money. Was your mom working?
I don't think so.
And you were getting evicted, did you say?
I think so, yeah. I think the guy was, I think the guy we were living in a house, and the guy had found a seller for that. Had found a buyer. Had found a buyer for the house.
Had found a buyer for the house?
Yeah.
I see.
So,
So it wasn't necessarily a non-payment of rent situation?
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
But
So
she had a much easier time making sure that the bills and whatnot were getting paid once I started giving her rent. So,
okay, because at a certain point, your mom said you're 18 years old.
As soon as I started working, I was giving her money. Yeah.
Okay, well that's
You know, it
Fair enough.
really helped make sure that the bills were getting paid.
okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about the move to Arizona, please. Who was this guy that she was going to move in with?
Don Johnson.
Don Johnson.
Yeah. Not the guy from Miami Vice.
Got it.
No. So the U-Haul and the gas and everything, that was all on me. So, I actually ended up having to go take a loan out on my walk to be able to pay for the gas and what
You took a loan out of what?
out of walk, to be able to pay for the gas and stuff, and pawning various items.
Pawning various items?
Yeah, to pay for gas and
Like before you left?
actually on the road.
You were pawning things on the road?
Yeah, because
Like what were you pawning?
I had a sword that I had gotten with my previous tax return. I ended up having to sell that from my previous tax return.
You had gotten a what? A sword?
Yeah,
But you don't fight.
it's just a sword. If you're going to fight someone, you're not going to use a sword. You know?
Okay, so you pawned your sword on the way down there to put money in the tank?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mom's like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll get it back." We never did. Don't worry, we'll get it back. We never did.
So who's going down there? This is in the U-Haul?
This is in the U-Haul, and so it's me, Chris, Ian, Sarah, the dog that's pregnant. Really pregnant, actually. We're in a Oregon rest stop. The dog, middle of the night, sleeping in the front seat. There's my day to do that. Dog goes and climbs up and feels like does what feels like taking a big dump on me, right? And it
Let's
turns out
keep
that
it clean, Joe.
sorry. Well,
Go ahead.
it felt like, I was just describing what it felt like. It turned out that she was actually giving birth on me.
She was giving birth.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the dog had some puppies
On me.
in the U-Haul.
In the U-Haul.
Okay. And you were
Yeah.
continuing on your way to Arizona?
I'm sorry if that offended anybody.
And then you continued
Yeah.
on your way to
We
Arizona?
continue on our way to Arizona.
Puppies in the truck?
Where else are we going to put them?
What's that?
Where else are we going to put them?
Where else are we going to put them? Okay.
Yeah.
So how you got down to Arizona eventually? Is that right?
Yeah, we eventually got down to Arizona. Showed up at the parking lot down the street from where this guy lived, and called him. I was like, Mom calls him. I was like, guess what? We're here, and he's just like, what? So
I mean, did he not expect you?
no, I don't think he was particularly amused.
There's 5 of you.
And the dog and puppies.
The dog and the puppies.
And his condo doesn't allow for animals.
And the condo didn't. What town was this in?
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so they had to be kept out. So they had to be kept outside, and most of them died from the heat.
The puppies.
Yeah. And so it was just a bad fit all around. I managed to get a job at a gas station, and since I had that going, Don Johnson's like, look, you're the only person here who's...
Speak up.
Don Johnson came to me and he's like, look, you're going to have to go and get your family out of here. And it's like, because I'm telling you this because you're the only adult here. So
Did he use those words?
Yes.
Did he have kids of his own or family, wife, anything like that?
No. He was a very solitary person. You know some people, how when you visit some people, they have like homes that are like completely immaculate, and you can tell that this guy lives by himself, and that's the only way that it can be this immaculate. That's how he was.
That's how he was. And then the 5 of you showed up with it.
And it was just not anymore. Yeah.
So he came to you and said...
I did what I could to go off and keep everybody from not freaking out and like running around, but it didn't work.
So how long did you live with Don Johnson?
A month.
And then what happened?
So after he told me that, I went and found a place as quickly as I could. We put all of our stuff in storage, and we moved to that new place, which all the bills were in my name. Sorry, the rent was in my name, the utilities were in my name, the phone was in my name, water was in my name.
So why is that a big deal? Couldn't your mom just put it in her name?
Well, she didn't have any credit, so I had to go off and cover everything.
Okay. So is that what you did?
Yeah.
And you were
she didn't have a job. She wasn't getting, most of the time in California and Washington, she had been getting assistance. I guess in a previous stint down in Arizona, she'd been getting assistance. This time, it was all on me. So
well, why couldn't she get assistance, though? She's a mother with young children. I would think that, at the very least, she should be getting food stamps, right?
I don't know.
Did her fibroid condition qualify her for SSI or anything like that?
She didn't know about the fibroid condition at the time.
Where were the tumors removed?
Actually, I think they were removed down there.
Down there in Arizona?
In Arizona, yeah. But this was down the line.
Okay, so everything gets put in your name. You get an apartment. What town was this in?
It's not that everything was put in my name. It's that I was paying for everything.
Okay. And what town were you in? Is this still Phoenix or nearby?
Yeah, this is Glendale.
Glendale, which is
Part of
next to Phoenix?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And tell us about the place you moved into there. Did the kids get back in school at this point?
Yeah, they got back in school, and I don't honestly know how well they're doing. I think they were doing pretty good, though.
You got to speak up, Joe.
Everybody got back in school,
Including yourself?
No. I guess not everybody then, huh? Mom went to, she did a little bit of trucking school for a little while, and then she flaked on that.
Trucking school?
Yeah.
Wasn't in the CPS records back in '92 when y'all were in California, wasn't she in nursing school at the time?
No, she was actually, at that point, she was studying to be a physical therapist.
Okay, well, that's a good position. Did that work out?
She flaked out on that, too.
Flaked out? Okay.
She would get discouraged.
Okay.
So.
Was your mom good at anything?
She was actually very good at art, for example.
Art?
Yeah.
What kind of art?
I'd actually seen a couple of the pictures that she had drawn when she was younger. She had, I don't know. The only ones that I've seen was some kid climbing a board fence to get at a cat.
But
So
it was good. She had some talent.
that was very good, you know. I thought it was me until I saw a newspaper clipping that had the same picture and realized that it wasn't. Anyway, kind of
Okay.
went down.
So let's get back to Arizona here.
Yeah.
So you were working, did you say, at a gas station?
Mhm.
And so how long did you stay in Arizona, and what caused you to leave? And I think earlier this morning you said you got to North Carolina from Arizona. Is that the next stop on the
Yes.
trip here?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's
So-
fill us in on Arizona, please.
Okay. I was working at the gas station, and that wasn't going too well. But
Why not?
Because providing for a family of 5 off a gas station wage, $5 an hour, is not very easy.
Okay. And this is, by this time, what year are we in?
At this point, we are
98, maybe?
99.
99, okay.
99.
So you're 20, about to be 21 years old.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
So we had and I was going. So I was giving all the money. I couldn't pay the rent, and because I was working all day, and so I would give all the money to pay the bills, and then she would usually go off and like waste on something else, which is really awful because she's not the one who's going in
Which is what?
really awful because she's not the one who's accruing the debts.
Everything was in your name, but it wasn't getting paid.
Because despite the fact that I was going and giving her the money to pay it, she wasn't bothering to pay it. Yeah.
Okay. And what is your mom doing at this point? Is there any new guy in her life?
During this time, she had met a guy named Al Johnson.
Al Johnson.
Yeah, who she eventually married.
Okay.
And he was an interesting character. He actually did go off and like he actually would work labor ready and taxi driving. It's great.
He worked at Labor Ready and taxi driving?
Yeah.
Okay, so was he bringing in some money?
He was, barely covering his cigarettes.
Tell us how she met Al. Like, how did that come to pass?
Actually, the circumstances for that was that I was wanting to get a piercing. Can't remember exactly which one now.
You wanted to get a piercing?
Yeah, but one of our neighbors, when Mom would take one of our neighbors out.
Would you say that again?
When Mom would take one of our neighbors out, that's what I said, but that's totally incorrect. When Mom had taken the kids to the pool in the apartment complex to take them
To
swimming.
the what?
Pool in the apartment complex, swimming.
To the pool, the swimming pool,
Yeah.
okay.
She met one of the other neighbors who had several piercings, Angie, and they talked and got along really well. Introduced to her husband who does piercings.
Angie's husband does piercings?
Yeah, Virgil.
Virgil?
And eventually her dad came by and they got to know each other and eventually got married.
So Angie's dad is
Al Johnson.
Al Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that
Your
a
Honor,
place to break?
Yes, Your Honor. May we have a break?
No problem. So if you could read your notepad and pens.